Right now, we are facing an avalanche of voter suppression that we have not seen before, at least not since Jim Crow, in state after state.
Republicans are pushing a series of new voting rules across the country that aim at restricting access to American voters.
I am calling this the most important ongoing political story of our time.
Over 250 bills across 43 states to restrict voting access.
The raft of proposals come after the 2020 election was met with record voter turnout and in turn handed the presidency and Senate to Democrats.
GOP state lawmakers are pushing a sweeping election bill. It would put restrictions on early and absentee voting. The bill would ban counties from holding early voting on Sundays. Of course, Sunday is a popular day for black churchgoers to go out and vote during Souls to the Polls events. The bill would shrink the window of time that Georgians have to request an absentee ballot, and it would add a photo ID requirement.
There is a lot of attention on Georgia, but Arizona and Pennsylvania are also pushing dozens of restrictions. These are two more states that Joe Biden won just narrowly. Hello, everybody. I'm David Shuster, and thanks for joining us. Political analysts say that if the GOP proposed voting restrictions pass in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, it's likely these three states that Donald Trump won in 2016 will flip back to Republicans in 2024. The GOP measures would suppress Democratic votes by making it harder, particularly in urban Democratic districts, to register to vote and actually cast a ballot. By all accounts, Republicans are still feeling the pain from the 2020 election. Democrats produced a record number of Black and Asian American voters in Georgia and Latino and Navajo voters in Arizona. Many of these minority voters cast absentee ballots, and they made the crucial difference for Democratic victories in the Senate and for Joe Biden's presidential win. Ever since November the 6th, 2020, Republicans led by Donald Trump have been making baseless claims about voter fraud. They filed more than 60 court cases and lost every one. Former Attorney General Bill Barr, a lifelong Republican, said the FBI looked into the 2020 election, and while investigators found a few isolated cases of fraud, the FBI and the Department of Justice concluded there wasn't the kind of massive fraud Republicans alleged that would have turned the election in any state. The state of Texas, though, unwilling to trust the Department of Justice investigation, took matters into its own hands. According to the Houston Chronicle, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's office spent 22,000 hours looking for voter fraud. The AG's office found just 16 cases of false addresses on voter registration forms. That was out of more than 11.3 million votes cast. Nonetheless, Texas Republicans have just issued new voting restrictions. The proposed measures include limiting early voting and tightening voter identification requirements. Want to guess which types of voters vote early in Texas? You guessed it, Democrats. Republicans insist that these measures are merely designed to cut down on fraud. That is nonsense. Just as the AG's office discovered, there's virtually no voter fraud. In fact, this Republican legislation is a shameful effort to make it more difficult for Democrats to vote. Republicans are acknowledging that Democrats win and Republicans lose when more Americans cast a ballot. It's that simple. But the GOP doesn't seem to care. They keep echoing the lies and nonsense from Donald Trump, and alarm bells are ringing everywhere.
Donald Trump told a big lie that led to a assault on democracy in the Capitol on January 6th. The assaults we're seeing going on now in state capitals with the legislatures may be less deadly and be less violent, but they are every bit as damaging to our democracy.
Our democracy is under attack. The most fundamental right we have as Americans, the ability to vote and choose our representatives, is under assault. This is what most of the Republican Party has become.